Good morning. I have a fun project for us today. We are going to be working on this 4-leaf clover granny square. If y'all know how to do a granny square, this is going to be real easy for you. Only difference is we're going to start a little different by making 4 popcorn stitches in the middle. Other than that, it's exactly the same as any other granny square. And you can put these together any way you want. Medium blocks, large blocks, bunch of these small ones. This finished size using 4-weight yarn and a H 5mm hook works out to be about 6.5 inches. Let's get started. If you can double crochet, chain, and slip stitch, that's all you need for this project. We're going to start by putting a slip knot on the hook and chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Go back into this first chain stitch you made, yarn over and pull through both loops. You've made a little circle. That circle's important. Chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Now each popcorn stitch is going to be made of a group of 5 double crochets. This stitch counts as your first, and we're going to do 4 more double stitches right beside it. 3, 4, 5. Pull up a tail. Go back into the top of that chain 3. Hook this loop over your hook and cinch it down just a little bit. And pull it through. Connect that first and last double crochet and you'll get a popcorn. Chain 3. Do it again. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Pull up that loop, go through the top of that first double crochet, catch that loop and pull it through. Chain chain 3. And you see there's the first 2 leaves of our 4-leaf clover. Let's do this again. Two, 3, 4, and 5. Pull up a loop, catch that first stitch, grab your loop again, and pull it through. Now there we have a 3-leaf clover, but we want 4. So we're going to do it one more time. 1, 2, 3. 5 double crochet right into that center circle. And you can see that I'm going over my yarn tail because I hate to weave in tails at the end. It seems like once you get finished with the project, there's a whole nother project to do. So I kind of try to do it as I go along. And after your last popcorn stitch, I chain 2 and then hook it to that first one. I don't know why, but in my hand, in my work, it just seems like that 2 stitches makes my chain spaces turn out more even. And there you go. A little popcorn shamrock. Begin the color change with a slip knot on your hook. Now I'm going to do what is a standing double crochet. It's a good way to change colors. And it's real simple once you get the hang of it. Put your slip knot on your hook and hold that with your finger. Yarn over and go into any chain space that you want to start with. Yarn over and pull up a loop. 3 loops on your hook and finish it just like any other double crochet. That's a standing double. Or you can attach your slip knot and chain 3. Either way, it's going to work out just fine. This is my starting corner, so I am going to do 1 granny cluster in that chain space. This is your sit-up round, so it's going to be all corners. So once you get that 1 cluster done, come around to your next chain 3 space and work a corner. And your corners throughout this project are going to all be exactly the same. 1 granny cluster, chain 2, 1 granny cluster. Starting to square off a little bit. Onto your next chain space. And I'm still working over those tails. One, 2, 3. Chain 2. 1. 2, 3. There's another corner. Granny cluster, chain 2, granny cluster. Almost square. Here we are back to our beginning cluster, and we're going to make that ending cluster now. One, 2, 3. And here's how I connect that and close up that round. Yarn over. Go through the top of that first double crochet, yarn over, pull up a loop. 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over, pull through all 3. There you go. That's the beginning of your granny square. And I like to use that type of closing on my blocks because it puts your work right out in the middle of that corner, and no one will ever be able to see where you do your chain ups, your change colors. All of that will be done in the corner. So from there, it's just a regular granny square. This counts as your first stitch. That's your beginning cluster. And you see there's a naturally occurring gap between the clusters of the previous row. We're going to work right into that. You'll make your beginning and ending clusters just as we did. Granny cluster in the spaces in between, and then your corners just as regular. Granny cluster, chain 2, granny cluster. That's all there is to it. So y'all know me, and I have a lot of opinions on a lot of different things. However, I am not for one skinny minute trying to convince y'all that my opinions are facts. What I found for your consideration today was all found on the internet from different sources, and I did qualify my sources. There's a whole lot of bull spit out there. And yeah, that said, let's get on to the more interesting stuff. I want to offer you a little bit of ripperology today. And it would take so long to unpack that whole case that this video would be about 6 weeks long. I'm not ready for that. So what I've done is chosen to focus on one aspect of that case. So what I've done is taken the letters and the correspondence that was exchanged between the media and the press, law enforcement, some of the main characters, and their handwritten letters back in the day were just like our emails and text are today. You can't hide it. Somewhere, somebody out there is going to have kept a copy and will have written proof. So that's the sources and that I considered for today's episode. These letters were exchanged in what they called the Autumn of Terror. That was a 10-week period in 1888 during the time that the Ripper was said to be most active. I find that there were several outside of this time frame, but that's an episode for another day. I also didn't organize these in chronological order because there's a lot of overlap and that got stupid real quick. So what I did was organize them by the recipients. First, let's visit Dr. John Williams. Now, he's a skeezy old fart and was initially one of the suspects. Let me tell you why. At one time or another, the victims may have attended the Whitechapel Workhouse Infirmary, where he was a doctor. He may have known Mary Kelly even before then, while he lived in Wales, and it's said that possibly they were having an affair, but I couldn't dig too much deeper into that. There's no proof. This letter arrived at the Central News Agency on the 5th of October, 1888, and then was forwarded on to the doctor. Here is a prescript of what one of the reporters wrote to the doctor. Mr. Williamson, at 5 minutes to 9 o'clock tonight, we received the following letter, the envelope of which I enclose, by which you will see it is the same handwriting as the previous communications. Signed, Thomas Bulling, Central News. This letter later became known as the Moab and Median letter because of a reference made within the context. Moab and Median are people that the Israelites had a beef with back in the day, so it is a biblical reference. The Israelites considered these to be ungodly and amoral people, so that's the reference and where that came from. The letter itself said, Dear friend, in the name of God, hear me. I swear I did not kill the female whose body was found at Whitehall. If she was an honest woman, I will hunt down and destroy her murderer. If she was honest. If she was a whore, God will bless the hand that slew her. For the woman of Moab and Median shall die, and their blood shall mingle with the dust. I will never harm any others, or the divine power that protects and helps me in my grand work would quit forever. Do as I do. The light of glory shall shine upon you. I must get to work tomorrow. Treble event this time. Yes, 3 will be ripped. I will send you a bit of face by post. I promise this, dear old boss. The police now reckon my work to be a practical joke. Well, Jackie's a very practical joker. Ha ha ha. Keep this back until 3 are wiped out, and then you can show them the cold meat. Yours truly, Jack the Ripper. End quote. No copy of the original letter has survived. All we have on this letter is Mr. Bulling's transcript and the word of the doctor that he received it. The next letter may sound a little familiar to you. It is the Lusk letter or the From Hell letter. The Whitechapel Vigilance Committee was founded by 16 tradesmen from the Whitechapel and Spitalfield districts. They were concerned that the killings were affecting their business in the area. The committee was led by a local builder named George Lusk, who was elected chairman during its first meeting on September 10th, 1888. So Lusk was the recipient of the From Hell letter. Along with this letter, he also received a little 3-inch by 3-inch box that smelled awful. And inside this box, we found half a kidney that had been preserved in wine or some other kind of alcohol. And this was turned over to the coroner for examination. The From Hell letter reads as follows. Mr. Lusk, Sir, I send you half the kidney I took from the woman and preserved it for you. T'other piece I fried and ate was very nice. I may send you the bloody knife that took it out if you will only wait a little longer. Signed, Catch Me When You Can, Mr. Lusk. End quote. So it's creepy, right? Yeah. The next letter was received by a local newspaper, October 6th, 1888, and it was intended for either of the witnesses that came forward from the night of the double event. First was Israel Schwartz, who was a man to have claimed to have seen a woman on the 30th of September and identified the victim as Elizabeth Stride, the assumed third victim of the Whitechapel murderer, potentially making Schwartz one of the only few people who might have gotten a good look at them. Also, Joseph Lewindy, a cigarette dealer who was believed to have witnessed the event of Catherine Eddowes. And he gave what he felt to be the most accurate description he could of the man he saw her with in Mitre Square that night. The letter is as follows. You thought yourself very clever, I reckon, when you informed the police. But you made a mistake if you thought I didn't see you. Now I know you know me, and I see your little game. I mean to finish you and send your ears to your wife, if you show this to the police or help them. If you do, I will finish you. It's no use your trying to get out of my way, because I have you when you don't expect it, and I keep my word. See? And I rip you up. Truly yours, Jack the Ripper. Postscript. Now you see I know your address. End quote. How would you have felt seeing that in the newspaper, knowing it pertained to you? I would have packed my bags, got out of Dodge, left no forwarding. Yeah. Bye-bye. So here we are at the Dear Boss letter, addressed to the boss of the Central News Agency of London and dated 25 September 1888. The letter was postmarked and received by the Central News Agency on the 27th. The letter was then forwarded to Scotland Yard on the 29th of September. As follows. Dear Boss, I keep on hearing the police have caught me, but they won't fix me just yet. I have laughed when they look so clever and talk about being on the right track. That joke about leather apron gave me real fits. I'm down on whores and shan't quit ripping them till I get buckled. Grand work this last job was. I gave the lady little time to squeal. How can they catch me now? I love my work and want to get started again. You will soon hear of me with my funny little games. I saved some of the proper red stuff in the ginger beer bottle over the last job to write with, but it went thick like glue and I can't use it. Red ink is fit enough, I hope. Ha ha. The next job I do shall clip the lady's ears off and send them to the police officers just for jolly, wouldn't you? Keep this letter back until I do a bit more work. and then give it out straight. My knife so nice and sharp, I want to get to work right away if I get a chance. Good luck. Yours truly, Jack the Ripper. Don't mind me giving the trade name. Postscript. Wasn't good enough to post this before I got all the red ink off my hands. Curse it, no luck yet. They say I'm a doctor now. Ha ha. End quote. Now, initially, the police dismissed this letter as a prank. However, they took another look and changed their minds to focus on the Jack the Ripper's claims. The letter's assertion of immediate action coupled with the threat to mutilate an ear. A detail matching Catherine Eddowes' injuries, part of her severed ear was found in her clothing, and it proved to be too exacting to ignore. Facing a stalled investigation, the law enforcement released the Dear Boss letter on October 1st, and that shot the killer to legend. Have y'all heard of the Saucy Jackie postcard? This was received October 1st, 1888 at the Central News Agency. Notice the theme here? Everything's going to the news agency. Well, the handwriting is very similar to that of the Dear Boss letter and makes direct reference to both the letter and the murders of the previous night. Those who believe it was genuine and that the removal of Eddowes' ear, although it was not taken away nor mailed to the police, he could have been interrupted or just didn't have time. And the postcard mentions the double event before it was released in the press. So that kind of testifies to the authenticity. Others believe the hoaxer would have gleaned the details from some other source, which means if it was a hoax, that person worked at the paper office. The Saucy Jackie postcard reads as follows. I was not codding, dear old boss, when I gave you the tip. You'll hear about Saucy Jackie's work tomorrow. Double event this time. Number one squealed a bit, couldn't finish straight off. Ha! Not the time to get ears for police. Thanks for keeping the last letter back until I got to work again. Jack the Ripper. End quote. The Dear Boss letter and the Saucy Jackie are similar in style and handwriting and suggest a common author. Some of the letters that I found were also not directly addressed to anyone, and the dates were not available. One goes, beware, I shall be at work on the 1st and 2nd in the Minories at 12 midnight, and I give the authorities a good chance, but there's never a policeman near when I'm at work. Yours, Jack the Ripper. And Prince William Street was only yards from the main road between Agberth and the office of the Cotton Exchange. What fools the police are. I've given them the name of the street where I am living, Prince William Street. So I never did find any Prince William Street in the area that they were talking about at the time. I did, however, find the Cotton Exchange in Liverpool, which would have been about a 10-minute walk away. On 29th of October, 1888, this letter was sent to Dr. Thomas Horrocks Openshaw. And Dr. Openshaw was the guy that did the forensic analysis of the kidney that came along with the Lusk letter and that had actually matched it to Catherine Eddowes. The letter says, and I quote, "Old boss, you was right. 'Twas the left kidney. I was going to operate again close to you hospital. Just as I was going to draw me knife along of her bloomin' throat, then cusses of copper spoilt the game, but I guess I will be on the job soon and will send you another bit of innards. Jack the Ripper." Oh, And this is his last line. "Oh, have you seen the devil with his microscope and scalpel a-looking at the kidney with the slide cocked up?" Please excuse the rough reading of that last letter. I was trying to get in his misspellings and the probable pronunciation he would have used. Okay, this next letter, dated September 17th, 1888. This letter was only recently discovered by a guy named Peter McClelland. It was in a sealed report envelope at the British Public Record Office. He found it in 1988, so 100 years after. Its authenticity is very much debated, many believing it's a recent hoax because other people had been in that archive and nobody else had seen it. Also, some experts believe that it was written with a ballpoint pen. Here's what that letter says. "Dear Boss, so now they say I'm a yid. When will they learn, dear old boss? You and me know the truth, don't we? Lusk can look forever. He will never find me, but I'm right under his nose all the time. I watch them looking for me, and it gives me fits. Ha ha. I love my work and shan't stop until I get buckled, and even then, watch out for your old pal Jackie. Catch me if you can, Jack the Ripper. Sorry about the blood, still messy from the last one. What a pretty necklace I gave her." So, until experts tell me otherwise, I'm just going to leave that one right there. This letter is from Littleton Stewart Forbes Winslow. What a name, right? He was a British psychiatrist and involved in several cases going on at the time. And Dr. Winslow writes this himself, and it's a cable that was sent to the Washington Post, 15 May, 1910. Dear Sir, I beg to challenge the observations which have appeared during the last few days relative to the announcement that Jack the Ripper was captured. If there is anyone who should know as to this claim, I would be that person. The last murder committed was that of Alice Mackenzie on July 17, 1889. On August 30th of that year, I obtained a clue which I carefully worked up. I traced the man from lodging to lodging, in fact, where he had stayed the night of the individual murders. I had feathers from the hats of the woman which he had left in the individual lodgings, which were handed to me by the proprietors of the rooms. I had a pair of Canadian snowshoes he left behind in some lodging, which were stained with blood. I knew his haunts, his ways of living, and his habits. He was a religious, homicidal monomaniac. Every Sunday morning he was to be seen on the steps of St. Paul's Cathedral. I took the police into my confidence. I offered to catch the man, provided they would render me some assistance. I asked that the red tape surrounding Scotland Yard, and it prevented them doing this. I was told by one of them that my clue was a very good one, but as a public body, they couldn't help a private individual in these investigations. I warned them of what I should do. Receiving no help as requested, I published my clue. From the time to the present day, no more Jack the Ripper murders have been committed. I thought I did not actually capture the man. My intervention and action frightened him away. I have in my possession the actual letter sent to me by Jack the Ripper, the same writing as to which Sir Robert Anderson alludes to being under the arches which the police rubbed off. One of the force identified the writing in my letter as being the same to which I am alluding. It was a keen disappointment to me that the police did not act in cooperation with me. I cannot, however, allow the statement to be made that he was ever captured. What became of him after I had frightened him away remains a mystery, which will never be fathomed. End quote. Okay, so he is taking credit for scaring away the Ripper. I'll have to dig a little deeper to find out what clue he was talking about. And if he had a letter, he never made it public. I think our Dr. Winslow was falling out of the public eye a little bit and kind of clawed his way back in. But I'll update you when I find out some more. Now, this last little bit is kind of gruesome. If you're not into that, I'll see y'all next time. Go have a cookie. But this is a little bit of poetry, having been attributed to Jack the Ripper himself, and it goes as follows. 8 little whores with no hope of heaven. Gladstone may have 1, and then there'll be 7. 7 little whores begging for a shilling. 1 stays in Hingegate Court, and then there's a killin'. 6 little whores glad to be alive. 1 sidles up to Jack, and then there are 5. 4 and whore rhyme a right, so do 3 and me. I'll sit the town alight. Ere there are 2. 2 little whores, shivering with fright, seek a cozy doorway in the middle of the night. Jack's knife flashes, and then there's but 1. The last one's the ripest for Jack's idea of fun. That was attributed to Jack the Ripper, but it was signed anonymous, and there is no date on it. As new things come to light, I will keep y'all updated, and I love y'all, and I'll see you next week.